Retro Reviews is going all out badass as I tackle another obscure gem. Watch out, bad guys, cause this here is Vice Project Doom. First things first, this game is even more badass and awesome than Street Fighter 2010, and it harnesses the same perfect gameplay, art design, and style from earlier games like Ninja Gaiden and Castlevania. This game was published by a company called Sammy in 1991. Who the hell was Sammy? Apparently, they were mostly manufacturing pachinko machines. They formed with Sega in a merger later on. The company also threw in a name drop in the game, and the character you play as, Heart, says the truth. What the hell do they have to do with anything? What makes this game unique is that it is a multi-genre game. What that means is that instead of the same style of gameplay from start to finish, it has a varied selection of stages. The first attempt at this was in 1989 with the release of Konami's game Bayou Billy. Bayou Billy gave the option to utilize the light gun in its shooting sections, while this game didn't. It would have been interesting if it did. And it also consists of 2 driving sections. This is done in the style of a 2D scrolling shooter. I kinda wish there were more of these sections, as they're placed at the very beginning of the game and later toward the end. The same happens with the 2 shooting sections, done in the vein of a first-person on-rails shooter. Also, when you boot up the game, it doesn't give you the standard title screen to push start or anything like that. It opens with the cutscene that sets everything in motion. Then it gives you the prompt to press start, and then the epicness begins. The first third of the game is a typical follow the breadcrumb case to find out who is responsible for some weird jelly or something like that. But then they say something silly like South Central America. Where is that supposed to be? I know it's somewhere between those countries south of Mexico and north of Colombia. But seriously, what the hell? Also, in South Central America, there's the Technodrome that fights you. What? What does that even mean? This game's dialogue is so absurd, it's awesome. It's like watching movies like Miami Connection. The silliness makes it legendary. The game also allows for several attacks. Instead of picking up power-ups and pushing down and B or up and B, you have 3 weapons. Your default weapon is this slashing attack. There's been debate about whether it's a sword or a whip. Now, it may look, play, and feel like a Castlevania game, but only the Belmonts can use a whip. But Heart is a badass, so I'll allow a whip. Even the manual from the game says it's a laser whip, so there, I guess. The next weapon over is a gun. Personally, I rarely use the gun. I only ever use it if I can't get close enough with my whip, so its purpose is fulfilled as a gun. And finally, you have some grenades. What's great about them in this game is that they do double damage, which is great and absolutely necessary to beat the final boss. You manage all these tools of destruction by a simple press of select. It's also one of the few games I think I've ever come across that lets you attack while on a ladder, which is nice. This game is very hard for beginners, but again, patterns. Also, if you've ever played Ninja Gaiden or Castlevania, then you'll do fine for a majority of the game. In the later stages it gets harder, but that means you have to adapt to the difficulty. Basically, as your skill increases, so does the game. But there's one section of the game, Stage 5-2, those goddamn birds. I hate birds in games. They're the servants of Satan. They fly out of the portals of hell right towards you as you're jumping over a chasm of death. The game takes a page right out of Mario, as when you kill an enemy, it drops a coin. Collect 100 coins and get a free guy. But yet, the game gives you unlimited continues, so there's no real need for it. Vice Project Doom also houses one of the earliest instances I've seen of parallax scrolling, especially since it's on Nintendo. Certain layers move independently from one another. Another thing to note, the graphics of the game are beautiful. Almost every stage has a uniqueness to it, be it color palettes, platforming, or overall design. Everything just looks nice in this game. But if there's anything to make a stage stand out is the music. Holy hell, this is one of the most rocking soundtracks in any game. If 2010 was the game equivalent of a sci-fi movie, this does the same for over-the-top action movies. For me, the driving stages have catchy, sweet tunes, but nothing compares to the last stage, entering the halls of the villain's mansion. Running down the halls, and the game experiences some intense slowdown as there are bad guys everywhere, but that's okay, because it's so intense! However, there is one flaw with the game that unfortunately I've only noticed on these particular sections. Whenever you hit an enemy and collect a coin or ammo or whatever, it kinda stutters the music, which is a real shame. But the overall experience is good. The game actually has a decent story, or at least cinematic look to it. Cutscenes occur frequently enough between gameplay, advancing the story further. And in the end, for all your troubles, spoils, and labor, you are gifted with a lengthy 3-minute long cutscene with the final boss. That may not sound like a long time, but after all the hell you went through to get to this point, and the fact that you have to read the novels of dialogue recited between the characters, it feels like a 10-minute breather to collect yourself. And after you beat him, you get another little break before the final phase, in which Hart says the greatest thing of all time: come and get some. That's the writing of champions. Any challenge in the world can be responded by that, and life will be good. Anyway, the last boss is kinda easy, but the first phase was rather hard, so if you did horrible and you're not yet accustomed to the pattern of the boss, it can be hard, especially since you have to restart from the last checkpoint. All in all, this is a legendary game that was lost to time, which is a real shame because it offers a lot of variety in terms of gameplay. Very few games from the era had different styles of gameplay within one game. It is a rather spendy game to find, especially complete in box, but I feel everything about it is worth it. So if you're going to spend your vacation somewhere, spend it next week where I play another gem from the past.